能不能再次站得多高啊？
So after NIO Tech Day, this NIO owner had a lot of investor-related questions for the CEO, and he answered them brilliantly. So first of all, he started off by saying he bought more than 10 EVs, and he is actually NIO owner number 91, the 91st NIO owner ever. And he said that out of all his EVs, NIO is his favorite, from product to user experience to energy infrastructure, etc. But when it comes to earnings report and those numbers, there's always lots of doubters. From a financing perspective, you convince a lot of investors. I have two questions. First, how did you give them confidence? Second, and how can you bring this confidence to a larger scale? And the CEO says, actually, there isn't any convincing concept. I believe there's still a lot of people that approve of NIO's long-term vision. And the dude interrupts and says, found the right person, eh? The CEO abruptly says, yes, but not exactly. But also our stock price is an indication of a vote of confidence. So like back in 2021, when our stock price was relatively high, everyone believes that the future of NIO is bright. But today, people feel a lot of pressure. Without question, we are at the bottom of the valley in terms of stock price. That's what he was referring to. And climbing out of it. Whether we can climb out of it or not and get back to the peak, and how high of a peak, in the next 2 to 3 years, we will have to hand in our results. Everybody nowadays are looking at our peers. They're reporting delivery numbers every week. There's quite a lot of pressure. Now, to go back to the same statement, today, in such a fast-paced environment, it is true that our long-term focused strategy, the returns, have been lowered and the risk has increased. But overall, I believe that long-term, there will still be returns. Regardless of if it's our R&D front, infrastructure front, user community front, the things that everyone approves on. If you can't wait until the next wave, an era dedicated for you, then things will be very difficult. So if you look at things from this aspect, how do you control the resource boundaries of your company? Quote unquote resource boundaries, very important word. It is extremely important. For me personally, first of all, we can't/shouldn't die of low cash balance. So that's why you see recently we got funding and support from Abu Dhabi. And recently we did a convertible debt which doesn't expire until 2029, 2030. So investment/funding actions like these are important, and we can ensure that we have the cash to support our future development. Secondly, we need to ensure that our margins return to an acceptable and reasonable level. It's not an easy task. Cash, margins, these two bottom line things, with them, you guys may ask, what is the focus of our investment? Our investment philosophy includes some very long-term fixed asset investment. With these, we will be more cautious with our spending. For example, our battery and self-manufacturing batteries. R&D wise, we won't stop. But with self-manufacturing, we will control the pace of spending. Things that elevate ownership experience. These type of fixed asset investment, we are resolute on our spending, like swap stations. So here, it's more about how and where do you allocate resources. So we are controlling the pace. So the important thing isn't to look at how much we lost, but more importantly, where is the money being invested in? Within this, the non-effective investment and the low effective investment, how much of those are there? Will there be long-term returns? If you know that there will be long-term returns and future returns, then these are actually investments. If you don't know these, then you are just spending regret money. So to understand the boundaries of your resources, that will be okay, and you will win some support. Then just simply leave your expectations to time. So this is very interesting. The CEO is basically admitting that the stock price is now at the bottom of the valley, meaning very undervalued, and in the future we're going to climb up, hopefully climb up and go to the peak, and maybe even higher peak than before. What's also very interesting is that he is guaranteeing pretty much that NIO won't go bankrupt or won't go under, will have sufficient cash, and that is one of his most important priorities. And he's also putting margin at the very important priority as well. And another big takeaway is knowing the boundaries of their resources. This is a very, very key point. I think that every new shareholder needs to know about this, and that is the fact that they know what to spend money on and they know what not to spend money on. For example, here in China, you can tell that what they're spending more on are obviously swap stations. Like the CEO said, it is a fixed asset that elevates user experience, and what they're reducing money on, for example, a lot of the freebies, some of the stuff like free swapping during holidays, that kind of stuff. And very importantly, he said controlling the pace of things that may not see returns, like, or doesn't have a clear picture of returns, which is very, very nice. It shows that NIO, even though despite the massive losses, are not wasting money on things that they don't see being able to generate future returns. And a very important quote from the CEO: they need to have enough money so that they can get to the next wave, an era dedicated for you. That means NIO's era is coming, whether it be the mass adoption of battery swap, which we're seeing happening here in China, or the mandatory requirement from policymakers to inspect battery health and how that will impact EV ownership, essentially forcing customers to buy a EV that is swappable, that can swap batteries. So the losses should be seen as investment. Very important. Hope you guys learned something. As always, stay safe, stay healthy. Peace out.